much. I didn't work in the fields, but I knew I had a responsibility to stand up for them. And then later I worked defending immigrant rights and immigrant workers. And I just want to acknowledge Jose, a dreamer who I met a few minutes ago. And wherever Jose is, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for loving this country enough to knock on doors, to get someone like Mary Rose Wilcox elected. I want to thank you for your courage. I want to thank you for being willing to be involved and make a difference. You make me proud. Let's give him a big hand. So for me, to get behind Mary Rose was pretty easy. I had seen her as a council member, and then a few years later as a county supervisor. I went on to get elected in 1994 and majority whip, majority leader, and then speaker of the California State Assembly. And when I knocked on doors back then, I knew that there were people in this state. And by the way, Representative Munoz, I've been to this house before. I campaigned for people here before. This is not my first foray to Phoenix or to Arizona. And I've campaigned for people who I thought would make a difference. You know, I'm not one of those that buy into the notion that this is a mean-spirited state. This is a state of good, hard-working people. This is a state of people who care passionately about Arizona and passionately about the United States of America. So you're right. When Mary Rose Wilcox said, "Would you support me?" I said, "Absolutely." And I will, because I remember the work that you did as a city council member and as a supervisor. I remember you taking on the tough issues, like the issue of gun violence in our communities, the rising crime rate, the fact that in many communities in South Phoenix, just like in Los Angeles, the issue of gun violence isn't just a public safety issue, it's a public health issue, and so many of our young people die at the hands of people with illegal guns. And in fact, the Arizona Republic just recently said that you're more likely to get killed by a gun here in Arizona than you are in a car accident. I mean, when you think about that, that's mind-boggling. So the notion that there's someone who's willing to take on an issue that more than 85% of Americans support, we ought to have background checks. That's not a radical notion. That's a mainstream notion. We ought to have background checks to get illegal guns off our streets. You know, Mary Rose did gun buyback programs when she was a council member and I guess a supervisor. That was important. She's actually, as was mentioned earlier, has been a victim of gun violence. A person who walked up to her and just shot her because he disagreed with the position she had taken. That kind of wanton gun violence is unacceptable. You heard her say that, you've heard her introduced as someone who's willing to take on people who are divisive, like that judge whose name I don't need to, sheriff rather, whose name I don't need to, well, he thought he was a judge as well. He thought he was the law. And he thought he was the judge and the sheriff, and you know, we need uniters. Mary Rose isn't just a Latina. Mary Rose has represented the gay community. Mary Rose has represented the African American community. Mary Rose has represented the Anglo community, all of the communities of Phoenix. She understands that the women, right? Look at these strong Latinas here. I grew up in the home of a single mom who was tough. Raised 4 kids on her own, so I see these women, I can feel their power up here. I'm moving to the side. But, you know, we need uniters right now, and particularly right now, where the Congress has a 14% approval rating. Why? because they're not getting anything done. So where in government today are people actually getting things done? At the local level. You know, at the municipal level, at the county level. We need someone who's not going to go in and say, I know it all. Someone who's willing to work with the other side. You know, because ultimately, that's when we get elected, to get things done. So a woman with a track record of getting things done, as a city council member, as a supervisor, the woman with the courage of her convictions to take on the issue of illegal guns and gun violence in our community, take on a sheriff that's dividing us instead of uniting us, taking on the tough issues. We need someone like that. So, I wanted to come to say, you know what? I support a woman with the courage of her convictions, a woman with a track record, someone who's willing to take on important issues like immigration reform, but also health care. You know, I've said for a long time, I was the author of Healthy Families in California, 750,000 children got health care because of my efforts. And I used to say, you know, health care is a right, not a privilege. We should not be debating whether or not we should have health care. The issue is how do we deliver it? And she's been taking on that fight as well. So I wanted to come by to acknowledge her and also to say to you, there are 13 days left to election day. And you know what? It's great to see the young people here. Elections matter. Your vote matters. I was registering voters here in Arizona in 1989. I didn't have a vote here, but I knew it was important. It's important to vote. I like to say it's important for us to vote for those who can't. It's important for us to vote because in this democracy, people listen to you when you vote. So the volunteers here, some of you have already scheduled in, and you got your field director here, who I met. There he is. And I know the way this works. You're already signing people up for election day, right? And you're signing them up and saying, can you come tomorrow and the next day? And so what I want to ask you to do, I want you to sign up. 13 days isn't a lot of days. You could sign up for every single day. Give 2 hours, 3 hours during the week, and then on the weekends, you know, you can walk for most of the day. Because this election matters. So again, thank you for supporting Mary Rose. Thank you for supporting these very, very strong women. Because, you know, one of the things that sometimes the men forget, when we open up the door, everybody's got to be able to come through that door. I used to say, what's the role of the first? The role of the first is to open up the door for the rest. So thank you, Mary Rose, for putting your hat in the ring, for running for Congress. Thank you, all of you, for supporting her. Look forward to victory on election night with your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Villaraigosa. One more hand for the mayor.
One more person came in, Sandra Kennedy, who is here and is running, and another strong woman, Sandra.
So who's ready to elect the first Latina